Everyone, welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. We're going to be taking a look together right now at Dash. Because again, as of November the 3rd, we're starting off a brand new week. The broader market seeing significant pullback. And again, we were noticing this yesterday too, obviously leading into Monday morning. But again, we're seeing a lot of red across the board, but Dash is up 25% right now on the daily time frame while the entire market is pulling down. What's going on? I'm going to share my personal thoughts with you guys, of course, on the weekly time frame. Dash up 136%, one of the very few coins that's up, and it's actually outpacing Zcash right now on the weekly time frame. Obviously, valuation on Dash is much lower than Zcash, but again, we obviously want to be witnessing, the overall momentum. But let's take a closer look at it. Before we do that, as always, just a quick disclaimer: anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So you can see for yourself the price since our last update has been now able to make its way back above $100 price point, and it's currently sitting at $115 and up 30% on the Bitcoin side of things over the last 24 hours. Valuation approaching 1.5 billion and the 24-hour trading volume at $1.2 billion. Absolutely insane. So what's really happening is, are we really witnessing a short squeeze, meaning a lot of these, shorts that were piling up, they just completely got wiped out because, of course, we did see a major pump instead. That could be the case, but what's really causing so much momentum coming into Dash? I'm going to share my personal thoughts. As you guys know, I don't own any Dash, but I give you guys a technical analysis, bringing you guys unbiased updates. I'm going to share my thoughts as to what's going on. First and foremost, let's take a look at what's happening with the dominance. It doesn't really affect Dash right now because, Dash has been going on an absolute tear. But of course, we have seen the dominance gain a lot of strength. It's retesting again levels that we haven't seen since October 10th. That's correct. That was the last time the dominance was showing this much strength. So obviously this is happening due to Bitcoin, because you can see for yourself what's happening with Bitcoin right now. You don't want to be ignoring that. So Bitcoin price obviously, fell below the 23.6. We talked about that. Again, if you watch some other updates, you guys know the 23.6 is such an important level for Bitcoin. And I was talking to you guys about, being below here, especially below the $107,000. The door is open for us to retest some of these lower levels. You can see for yourself, we came down to 105,306 a few hours back. We did see a bounce back above 107, but you could see, we're not being, we're pretty much not breaking above the $107,000 price point. So, pretty much the door is still open right now. Obviously, there is some support around where we currently are. But if this does not hold, the chances of us, filling the wick down to, the October 17th level is still in play, believe it or not, because Bitcoin is nowhere near where it needs to be. So is this going to be a shakeout before we start heading back towards the upside? Because Bitcoin, like I said, is, in the extreme uncertainty territory right now, and uncertainty is really high, of course, across the board right now. But again, at this point, Dash is one of those outliers, that's not really being impacted with Bitcoin. And I'm going to share my thoughts with you guys as to what's happening. First and foremost, I want you guys to understand, what happened to, Zcash. Zcash went on an absolute crazy rally, made some people a lot of money. And of course, the privacy narrative, right? The privacy coin narrative, and Dash somewhat follows within that category as well. But the biggest point on here is the fact that the price was able to break out of the bear market zone, because you guys need to understand, we've been almost consolidating below this key range for almost 4 years, and breaking above here itself was a major signal. And anyone that was probably, or if we started to see, short start piling up, maybe, people thinking this thing has pumped up so much, this is where, the short squeeze could occur, and, market makers doing the complete opposite, which is causing the price of Dash to, break out and retest some of the levels again it hasn't seen since April 2022. But in my last update, I talked to you guys about how we could break out to the $132 much quicker than a lot of people, would expect. And we came very close to that. We were literally 9% away for us to retest that. So I would say, overall technical analysis and, overall, my personal take in my last update, did end up playing out, because you could see for yourself we came very, very close. But obviously there is some resistance, and of course, the market conditions are playing a little bit of a factor as well. People locking in profits, that is something you need to also keep in mind. But let's take a look at Dash on the hourly perspective. So you could see for yourself, Dash obviously broke out to the $97.60. This is where I recorded the last update for you guys. We didn't really retest a $100 price point, but again, that is a psychological price point. We just retested just below the $100 price point. We came down to the key support line. So in terms of a correction itself, that was a correction of about 20%, and we got supported this time around by that major resistance. Like a 4-year long resistance almost. Now that played as a support, and you could see for yourself a major spike over the last 24 hours. You could have bought Dash last night at $79 and you're up 51%. That is complete madness here. That is insane. Like 50% pullback. But with that being said, the market conditions is something we still want to be watching out for. People that might have gotten on Dash early, like maybe even just a few days back, might want to be locking in profits based off of what's happening with the market conditions. You can see for yourself, on October 30th, just a few days back, Dash is up since then 175%. That is absolutely insane to think of. And again, if you want to go to October 1st, this thing was sitting at $22. Since then, it's up 425%, which is insane to think of. Are we going to see a continuation of upside? If you watch my first Dash update, I made a comparison to this cycle, 2021 cycle. I'm not even focusing on, the original cycle top. I've told you guys specifically about the $474 price point, and I talked to you guys about, look what ended up happening in 2020 when we broke out of these key levels, and, this did end up becoming a reality. And, hence, I think that this is still a strong possibility for Dash to pull, because look what Zcash did. Zcash was still sitting in a very low valuation before it took off. Same with Dash. Same with Dash. So what I want you guys to really understand here is, again, if you have bought in around here, you're sitting at a 400 plus, 400% plus profit, lock some profits and off the table. And if you don't want to lock in profits, then at least have stop losses in place, because that is very, very important to do so. Anyone that's looking to get in at this point, I'm going to be telling you guys to be extremely cautious, extremely high risk right now, because again, market conditions could still impact Dash. And of course, early comers could still come and, take some profits off of the table. So again, you could, if you enter now, you don't really know where the price is going, especially with this market condition. Obviously, extremely high risk, high reward situation. But this is where your due diligence research comes into play. Me personally, when the project has pumped up this much, I'm not touching it. I'm giving you guys unbiased update. Of course, again, I don't own any Dash, but let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. I want to know from you guys whether or not you think Dash is going to get up to May levels of 2021. That would be quite impressive to see. But the crazy thing with Dash here is the fact that breaking above this key resistance, again, things can move up much quicker than a lot of people are realizing. But what do I expect to see? Maybe we do retest, the $132 price point, might see a rejection. Could even come down to the $100 price point, see a little bit of a consolidation before breaking out. So, you could still see something like that playing out. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Love each and every one of you guys. We'll see you later with Crypto ZX and